games. It's ScrubGames. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames. Drop a like, drop a sub, go ahead and subscribe to ScrubGames.
How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we have the next installment of my Understand How to Build series, where we go over all the leaders in a given set to help you understand how to build them to suit you and your playstyle. Now, we're coming to the end of the Vigilance one, so we're coming to the last of the Vigilance leader, being Rose Tico. So if you're interested in Rose and want to learn how to build a deck to suit her, well, to suit you for her, then feel free to keep watching, and we're going to get into it. But before we do, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to help out with the channel, because we're on our way to 2,000 subs, and to keep updated with my videos as and when they drop. And also, don't forget, you can click that notification bell to get alerts for when my videos do drop, so you can watch them there and then, or at a later time that suits you best. So, without ado, let's go ahead and help you understand how to build Rose Tico. So, best thing to do is start with the leader, as Star Wars is a leader-based game, so without a leader or a base, you can't really play the game, so we need to understand that, because while some are generic, some are very focused on a specific kind of way to play, or like, say, a trait or anything like that. And Rose is the heroic leader, doesn't have that new fancy alternative kind of deploy. She just deploys like most leaders have always been doing, where I deploy in the ground arena as a leader unit or ground unit, and she does that at 5 resources. So quite early to play, quite nice. It's nice to get her quite early, and with some pretty decent stats. 4, 6. So 4 is a decent amount of power, and 6 is respectable health. It's 1 out the range of takedown, which is always nice. So she's just a resistance unit. That's the only trait she's got, and her effect is all around vehicles. Like I said, some are generic, some aren't, and she's got a focus on vehicles. So you're going to want to play some vehicles in a deck with Rose. And you might be thinking, what does she kind of do with vehicles? Well, her effect is all about healing those vehicles, because you want to keep them nice and healthy, keep them around for longer, and she can do that just well. So she's got the kind of same effect about healing 2 damage from a vehicle, and it kind of differs where she is. So where she's in the leader area, her effect is just an action, so you need to tap her, and then you can heal 2 damage from a vehicle as long as it attacked that phase. So you can't just not attack, you need to have that unit attack, then go ahead and heal 2 off it. It's pretty nice. So you can have it attack into another unit, take it out, then heal some of that damage off, up to 2. Well, yeah, heal 2 damage from it. And then the other way she can heal is when she deploys and comes down as on turn, 5 resources or more. With a 4/6 body, she gets the effect of on attack, so she has to attack, and you get to heal 2 damage from your vehicle. So now the vehicle doesn't have attack, she needs to attack, which is pretty cool. But she allows you to keep your vehicles very nice and healthy by healing them, and you can get a good amount of healing on her deployed turn, like at least 4 off some vehicles, which is pretty cool. And it just helps, because when it comes to trading, if you attack into stuff, you normally get to take damage back unless that unit has no power, and being able to heal them after trading is always very useful. So basically, that is the leader. So very simple to go over, because she's quite simple with her effect, and like with the traits, she's got no beneficial trait. She's got resistance, and her effects are very simple at healing units, and she's not really got anything to go into on the deploy. It's just 5 more resources down. And yeah, we're going to get into it now. And also, one thing I should go over is that like we got from set 2, every leader has a showcase, and the thing with showcases is they're just fancy, higher rarity arts that are harder to find of those leaders. So if you want a higher rarity and a different art of it, you can go for that. And while showcases are higher rarity, they're not always the best. Like sometimes a leader is just amazing in showcase, like they've got the best showcase or like a very appealing one. Sometimes their showcase is not any better than their normal ones. Like some normal leader art is better than showcase. But like I said, a showcase is just alternative art, and when it comes to art is subjective. So if you like it, it's fair enough, you can get it and use it, it's fair enough. But if you don't like it, you'd have to worry about it and just leave it alone. But in my opinion, Rose Tico's one is probably one of the least impressive, and yeah, like I don't think there's many from this that's impressive, but that is how it goes. So that is covering the leader, so a very simple way to cover the leader, and simple facts. And now what we're going to do is go into some basic information, because we like to appeal to all levels of players when it comes to the series. So we don't want to just make it so one level series, we like to make it, well, not level series, but level player. We like to make sure everything's covered, like every player, from a brand newbie, intermediate player, or even a veteran. So if you feel like you're a new person, then stay tuned. We're going to go over some basic information. Veteran, if you're immediate, you might get some more information it might improve a little bit. And if you're a veteran and feel you don't need any of this basic information, then feel free to go down to the description box below, check out the timestamps, and use those to skip along to the video to the parts you want. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and check out some basic information. Right, so the first bit of information we're going to go over is bases, because they're the ever part of mandatory piece you need for building a deck. So along with a leader, you need a base, because a leader gives you like the factors of how you play your deck, what your kind of strategy is, where a base is where your damage goes and how you win or lose the game, because the only way to win or lose the game is by doing damage equal to the damage on a base. So you want to do damage onto your opponent's base equal to its HP, and you lose if they do damage to your base equal to its HP. And there are two kinds of bases. There are rare bases, which have differing health. They can have more or less health than a normal base, and they compensate for that by having an effect, which can either be beneficial or detrimental, depending on the stats of the health, if it's higher or lower. And you've got the common bases, which are just 30 health bases with no effect. So we're going to cover these bases and kind of go over like what the benefits are and if you should use them. So for the rare bases, we have 12. So we got 4 in each state, except for set 2. So we got sets 1, 3, and 4 give us rare bases. Set 2 didn't give us any. Gives a nice little break, but it just meant we had the same rare bases for 2 whole sets, which wasn't too long, and it wasn't too well, it wasn't the bases that made it too bad. But these are the rare bases you've got. So there are 12 rare bases, but I haven't shown some because they're not really worthwhile going for, and I'll explain why. So with the rare base, we've got the top row, which is set 1 ones, and these are all 25 health bases, and they all have an epic action. This is just like a deploy, where it's an action you can take once a game, and once it's done, once it's used, it's done. And these are some nice beneficial effects. Remember, they take an action, so you have to use an action to do them, and they vary in kind of usability, because you've got Energy Conversion Lab being the best base for the beginning of the game for the first 2 sets, and now Target Town since set 3 is taken over to be the better of the rare bases. Then, like I said, set 2 we didn't get any. Set 3 we did get some rare bases, but they are ones more built for Twin Suns, because that is a format where you have 2 leaders instead of 1, and they all have effects which benefit having your leader on the board or deploying your leader. And since you have 2 leaders in the Twin Suns format, you have double the uses of it rather than 1 use. So having a leader that gets a boost of stats isn't as great when you got 1 leader compared to 2, and same as with leader deploying. You're gonna get it once, and that's it. And with the fact that they're all lower health, means they're not really necessarily the best ones to go for. But that brings us to the ones we got for this new set. Set 4, we got some new rare bases. And we got the first lot of bases that have more than 30 HP. And those are Colossus and Data Vault. Now, just like how you get a more beneficial effect when you've got lower health, when you've got more health, it's got an effect that's not great and kind of a negative. Now, you can determine how negative these effects are by yourself, but then there's supposed to be a negative on you. So Colossus has got 35 health, and the negative of that, having that 5 extra health, is that you can only you have 1 less card in your opening hand. So rather than start with 6, you start with 5, which means you're going to have to resource 2 of them, and you have 3 options in your hand to play, which is not too bad. It's bad depending on what deck you're playing or how you think, but I don't think it is that bad, but it's supposed to be. Then we got Data Vault. So this is one that affects your deck building, because for that extra 3 HP, your minimum deck size is increased by 10. So that getting that extra 3 HP, you've got to have a 60 card minimum deck instead of 50. So that is that. You can take that how you wish. Like, so there are some people that play 60 card decks anyway, so it could be a negative or it could be nothing depending on how you feel. Now we come with the other 2 being Thermal Oscillator and the Bat Village. These both have 27 health, so 3 less, and with a negative, with less health means a more beneficial effect. And Thermal Oscillator it does the same thing as Data Vault, where it's all about your deck size for deck building, and for that 3 less health, you get to decrease your minimum deck size by 5. So it's 10, increased by 10 for 3 more health, but decreased by 5 for 3 less health. So that means a 45 card minimum deck, which means you're a bit more consistent because you've got 5 less cards needed in your deck. So consistency is normally like more impactful depending on how thin your deck is. So a thinner deck means you can draw into cards you want faster, so it can be pretty nice. And we got in the Bat Village. Now this is one that's got 2 effects, and just like Colossus, it affects your opening hand. Because what it allows you to do, what it basically does, is means that you draw 3 more cards when you have your starting hand, but you can't mulligan. So rather than opening 6, you open 9, but you can't opt for a mulligan. So rather than have access to 12 cards over 2 6 set hands, you get open 9. So it means there's more consistent trying to find an opening turn of finding what you want to start off with. But you might be thinking, that's great, you're going to get 9 cards instead of 3, that's worth the 3 less elf. But not necessarily, because when the first action phase starts, you need to put 3 cards from your hand on the bottom of your deck or in any order you choose. So you don't get to keep those 9 cards, but you have more cards to look at in one go to kind of have a better opening than just hopefully seeing 6. So those are rare bases, but if you feel like any of those rare bases aren't worth the lower or higher health, you can always just go for common bases or vanilla bases. And I say that because they have no effects, whether vanilla bases is normally a term for when something has no effect. And these are all 30 health bases that only differ by their aspect, and then in each aspect differ by their art, name, and location. And since there isn't any benefit to having a name or location of a specific base, you essentially, when you want to use a vanilla base, you just pick whatever aspect you're adding, well, you want for your base. Then in that aspect, you pick whatever your favorite art is, because there's no benefit to the other details on it. So these are just some of my favorites. So you've got the top ones being the new hyperspace foil ones, or versions of bases we've got from previous sets, and they're from the new Twin Sun step box, where you get the hyperspace foil, which is the first of the common bases. And the bottom lot are just some of my preferred arts for the new bases in set 4. So that is all about the bases. Hopefully that's help you understand that. Now let's go and basically just talk about the aspects. So these are the 6 aspects in the game. In Star Wars, there are 6 aspects. There are 4 color ones, being Vigilance blue, Command green, Aggression red, and Cunning, which is yellow. These all have a style of play, and so do the other 2, being Villainy and Heroism, which are the other 2 traits, or referred to sometimes as black and white, and they are all the aspects that you have in this game. Now the first 4, they go on all your leaders, also go on your bases as well, while the other 2 are ones that are on your leaders but not on bases, and also are unique compared to the rest, where not only can be on cards themselves, but it can also be attached on cards with the other 4 aspects. They all also have a different style of play, so if you want to know kind of what appeals to you, we're going to go over them now. And we'll start off with the first one being Vigilance, which is one that Rose already has, so if you like this one, it's a good job that Rose has it. So Vigilance one is all about defense, because it allows you to heal, defend your base with like sentinels and shields, and also go ahead and have lots of like removal in effects. So this makes it so if you are someone who likes to play a very defensive and long game, then Vigilance is a very good one for you, because of all that healing and stuff. Then if you like ramping, then good thing we have Command, because that is the ramp color. Because you have some game, well, I'm thinking something like a lot of games that have resource focus, you have ramping, and Command is the one, just like in Dragon Ball, you've got it in green. And this allows you to extend your resources, ramp up your resources to increase them quicker than your opponent can with every turn, like resource 1 every turn. And it allows you to do that by effects on cards, and also it means you can then play bigger things quicker, or a lot more things in a turn than your opponent can with less resources. So if you like ramping and playing bigger things quickly, or more things, like a lot of things out quicker, Command is a perfect one to go for. Then we have Aggression, just like the name suggests, they're very aggressive, but not in just like attacking, hitting hard, even though some of the aggressive decks, the aggro decks, are normally red. It is basically the name Aggression because it's very aggressive with damage. It's a damage focus aspect, just wants to throw out damage and win, and basically just have a fiery playstyle and just throw damage at your opponent until you achieve victory. So if aggro is a good way for you to play, or damage focused, then Aggression is a good one for you. And then we come down to Cunning. Now Cunning is the jack of all trades one. So if you want to have an answer for almost everything your opponent will throw at you, and basically able to answer almost any situation, then Cunning's perfect, because it has a lot of different effects, a lot of like ambush and like not tricky kind of effects. So it could be a perfect one to basically be able to counter any situation. That brings us to the last 2. Now, Villainy and Heroism are different in that Villainy features mostly all the antagonists of the Star Wars universe, and then Heroism features all the protagonists. So you've got Villainy being like the villains of the game, who have very controlling and destructive effects, while Heroism have those rebellious and basically full frontal attack kind of effects. And like I said, these ones appear with the other aspects as well as on their own. And now we're going to kind of see what we get with the aspect combos, because remember, with a leader and a base, you get access to 3 aspects, 2 from your leader, and then 1 from your base. So with Rose, if you have one of the 4 bases attached to her, you get one of these aspect combos, and there is a aspect lust card or aspectless base, but you're never really going to go for it, 'cause if you are going to go with one aspect, you'll go double most likely, even though the aspectless base has extra like 34 health. It's not really worth it. But if you go for a blue base, you go for double blue for Rose, which gives you the access to the double aspect cards, which we'll go over in a bit. If you go for a green base, you get blue-green. With a red base, you get blue-red. And with a yellow base, you get blue-yellow. Now, we are going to go over what the benefits of each of these aspect combos are to see which one you prefer. Before we get into that, we need to go over the aspect penalty. Because this is something that is relevant when it comes to playing the game. Because when you're building your deck, you can put any card you want in your deck. Any card you want, no matter if it's light or dark. Put any card in your deck, as long as it's not restricted, which currently is just Boba. But when it comes to playing the cards, that's what aspect penalty comes in. Because what it basically is if you go to play a card, when you go to play a card, if a aspect on that card does not match what's in your leader base, then you need to pay an extra 2 in addition to every aspect that doesn't match. So we got a nice example here, because I know that some people learn by watching, some people learn by listening, some people learn by trying it out themselves. So I try to incorporate everything to kind of all different ways to learn. So we got a visual, and I'm going to go over it as well. So when it comes to this, we got a good example here of Rose with a green base. So we have access to the Heroism, Vigilance, and Command, or in color terms, just white, blue, and green. So those are aspects. Now, if we want to play a card that has aspects on it that match what we got already in our base, we pay no additional cost, just play it for its cost. So this is shown in the top box here. Now, if we want to play a card and one of the aspects on the card do not match what's already in your base, then we have to pay an extra 2 on top of that cost. So if it's a 2 cost card, it now costs 4, so that's double the cost. Now, we've got the example here in the second box, so these are all the different aspects, so you're a lot more in the 2 cost than there are on the rest. And then if you play a card that has 2 aspects that doesn't match, that's a 2, like it's shown not many in this aspect combo, but in the last box, you have to pay an additional 4 on top, so once again, a 2 cost card will now cost 6, and that's triple the cost of the card. So that's quite a big difference. So that is shown in the third box, and this is a nice way to show like when the cost comes to effect. But also do remember that while the aspect penalty does make a card a bit more expensive, sometimes it is worth it depending on what the card does. So a good example is the double aspect events from set 1. They're all 4 cost events in double aspect, named after their aspect, and they give you 4 options. You can resolve any 2 of them in any order you want. Now these are perfect. Normally you have to play double aspect to play them, but sometimes people want to play them even if they don't want to play, like say double blue or double green. So sometimes I play them even if they split across 2 different aspects and pay 6 for it instead of 4, and that's worth it. So remember that the aspect penalty sometimes is worth it depending on what the card does. Sometimes you might want to play the extra 2 cost because of what the card does. It's just very beneficial for your deck and your aspect combo. So that's the aspects covered. Now we're going to get one last little bit of basic information before you're all set to go and see what these aspects provide you, and we're going to go over the ratios. So we got ratios. So like in every card game, you can play a certain amount of copies of any given card, and in Star Wars, that limit is 3. So you can play up to 3 copies of a card. So you can play 1, 2, or 3 copies of a card, and I'm going to help you understand when you want to play a certain amount, however many copies you want. So, for 3 copies of card, this is the ratio to help you maximize the likelihood the desired card will be in your hand when needed. And examples of this are being cards you want to play on the first turn of the game, so turn 1 plays, and also cards you want to see multiple over the course of the game. So I used to have one showing one more beneficial to the leader itself, each time in this, but where I use the same one for the other ones to explain them better, I thought I'd do a generic one for this one. So we got resupply as an example, because if you're playing green, you're normally playing it for a ramp and the ramp up card. There's no more generic card for ramping than resupply. This is just a free cost event that allows you to put itself in play as a resource, ramping up your resources quickly, and is playable from turn 2 onwards. So this is a card that if you want to ramp, you're normally going to include this 3 copies in your deck, so you can hopefully see it turn 2 so you can ramp and get the ball rolling. Then we got 2 copies of card. Now this is usually the ratio for cards that aren't great to draw early in the game, but you still want to go through multiple copies of them over the course of the game. Now examples of this being boss cards or high costing cards, and Rivals Hall is a perfect example. Because it's a high costing card, so you don't want to have it early in the game, but it's a very powerful card and has a 6 cost that can defeat any unit, so you want to draw it later in the game when it's used. Because I say it's very useful, because most of the time when you've got events that want to take out something or removal events, they're usually more restricted to lower the cost and less restricted the higher the cost. So the higher the cost, the stronger, lower the cost, the more restrictive. And sometimes when you get events, they normally say defeat a non-leader unit, so you can't defeat a non-leader unit, but they're normally cheaper. But Rival's Fall is expensive at 6, but defeats any unit, even leaders. So this is one you might want to have early, while later on when your opponent deploys their leader, so you can take it out straight away, but not early where it's just going to clog in your hand, making it so you have less options, and you don't want to resource it early in the game. And that brings us to one copy of a card. Now, this is usually the name for this is usually like tech choices, cards you want to put in for a specific kind of situation, but it's usually the ratio for cards that are added to a deck specifically in order to counter a specific situation. Now, the best example of this I've got is Restock, because it's added to cards, added to decks to counter those hard control decks. Because like hard control suggests, it's focused generally on control. All they want to do is control the game. They're not worried about pushing damage. They want to keep control and never give up. So since they're not pushing damage, they're not going to be able to defeat you through damage on your base. So usually what they do is rely on their deck out. So they rely on you not having low cards left in decks. When you start to draw, you start taking damage. So for every card you can't draw, you take 3. So if you can't draw one card, you take 3 damage. If you can't draw both your cards, you take 6 damage. And they rely on that damage to win the game to finish you off. But Restock is a great card because it allows you to put up to 4 cards from your discard pile back on the top, well, back on the bottom of your deck in random order. And with how the game works, you can put itself as one of those copies, so you can recycle itself over and over again to prevent you ever decking out, so never deck out. And this will mean that hard control decks can now not deck you out, and then will require a different way to kind of push damage or be able to try and get rid of that restock. So hopefully this helped you understand how the ratios work and when you want to have 3, 2, or 1 copies of a card. And now we're going to get into that information you're probably looking for, which is what the benefits are with every aspect combination. So we're going to first start off with double aspect, because this is an aspect combo that wasn't great in the beginning of the game. Only one leader in each aspect was beneficial in using that, but now we've got more sets, we've got more double aspect cards, and more just cards in general, which now means that every leader can give a try at double aspect and have a good way of trying it. So every leader is viable to this, not just one now. And with the first 3 sets, we got 3 double aspect cards in each, but with set 4, we've only got 1, so we've only got 10 cards in double aspect. So you're sacrificing a whole other aspect to have access to these 10 cards. Now, you got to think about if it's worth doing it for it, and we'll leave that to you suggest, but we're going to go over these ones here. So for set 1, we got Bendu, Protector, and Vigilance being pretty nice cards. Bendu being a big, nice sentinel that can make any, well, when it attacks, any non-heroic or villainy card you play next costs 2 less. Protector was a nice upgrade to give anything sentinel, which is cool. And Vigilance was like one of those events we were talking about, the double aspect, 4 cost events. They have the aspect itself to give you 4 options, and you can use any 2. Then for set 2, we got Sugi and Second Chance and Midnight Repairs being nice ones, being Sugi being a nice unit that utilizes the mechanic from set 2 being Smuggle, and becomes a sentinel if your opponent's upgraded. Second Chance being a revival upgrade, where if the unit is attached to a defeated, which has got to be a non-leader unit, it can be revived from the discard pile for free during that same phase. It's kind of like a safety pin, or a safety upgrade kind of thing. Then you got Midnight Repairs being a nice heal card for cheap, healing 8 damage from units on board, but it's a 2 cost that's locked to double aspect. And then set 3 is when we started seeing the downgrade. We got Finn and Duchess Champion, which aren't great cards. Not too bad. Well, Finn's not too bad for stats, but the effect's not beneficial compared to other cards and their cost of stats. And then Duchess Champion is a big, bulky guy, but very low power and very situational if you can give it Sentinel, relying on your opponent's actions. Then we got Equalize, which kind of is the same as a card for set 1, which has the same cost and does the same effect of giving something -2 to the phase. But that ever card isn't double blue, it's just 1 blue, and then heals 2 from your base as well. Whereas this, for the extra blue that you've got, so to make forcing you go double blue, you get to then minus another thing by 2/2 if you control less units than the controller of the card you first minused on it. So you can essentially minus 2 units by 2/2 on your opponent's board, and that's pretty good against decks like Django. And then for set 4, we got Hondo as our new double blue card. It's a nice unit, solid stats for its cost, comes in shielded, and can help you mess around and basically just take your opponent's upgrades that are not pilots, allowing you to basically steal things like shields, experience, and stuff like that, which is pretty nice. It also joins the legendaries Vigilance and Second Chance for legendaries and double aspect, and is a pretty nice card. Now you might be thinking, what else is Rose Blue? Those are double aspects. What about just normal blue and normal white-blue cards? Well, let's go over those. So for the aspects that Rose herself supplies, she supplies some pretty nice ones. Remember, she has a focus on vehicles. She's all about healing vehicles, so you might want to focus on playing more vehicles than you do with non-vehicles. So these are pretty nice ones. We got some good turn one. We got some good vehicles in like Restored Arc, Concord Dawn, and Red Squadron X-Wing, which are pretty nice ones, pretty cheap ones that all I kind of wanna keep healthy. And thanks to Rose, she can, because Restored Arc heals when it swings, and it's a good turn one play. Concord Dawn gives you a nice sentinel that hits harder back at things that attack into it, so it doesn't hit hard. But if your opponent attacks into it, it hits a little bit harder. And then you got Red Squadron X-Wing, which when played, you can deal 2 damage to it, and if you do, you draw a card. Now this is perfect with Rose because you can heal that 2 damage off like that. And then you've got some higher costing ships like Obi-Wan's Averstrike and Redemption. These are both ones that can incur damage, but then Rose can just heal off, which is pretty nice because Obi-Wan's Averstrike allows you, when it's played around when it attacks, to deal damage to itself, to deal 2 damage to another space unit. So you can heal that damage off it does to itself, and then start pushing that damage. And then Redemption is nice because it allows to heal your base by healing up to 8 damage from other units in your base, and then deal that much damage to itself. So you can heal it off your base, and then start healing it up slowly, and it's a pretty big sentinel. Then you got some other units that are quite useful in that they're units you can play in the ground arenas like normal units, but can also be piloted onto one of your vehicles, so they're a bit stronger to help them survive, so Rose can keep it healthy with her effect. You got Hera, which is pretty nice, which offers healing through Restore 1. And you got Page, which also can then damage a unit and give it give an experiential unit, but then takes damage, which can then be healed off by Rose, and that's on attack, so Rose can then trigger it then. And you got L3, who, when it's in the ground arena defeated, if you've got a vehicle, you can attach it to a pilot instead of defeating it if it would be defeated. So it's a nice way to kind of have it on the ground arena, take out something else in the ground arena, and then when it dies, it goes on one of your vehicles you hopefully have out. Then in non-heroic side of blue, which is tough because most of the time with blue, I know with blue especially, some of the best cards are in the heroic or villainy side. But you still have some pretty nice ones in this side, because you've got some pretty nice units that can be pilots or normal ground units, like Astromech Pilot, Academy Graduate, and Trace Martinez, which are pretty nice. Like, you get Trace and Astromech, give some healing effects when they're upgraded or on attack while piloting. And you got Graduate, which makes a unit a Sentinel, or just comes out as a Sentinel. Then you got some other good space units as well, just normal blue. Like you got Omnicron Strikecraft being a nice little Sentinel for the space. Same with System Trollcraft and Falcon Ion Tank, but one for the ground arenas. So you got some nice Sentinels there. And you got Survivor's Gauntlet being a nice card that kind of mess with upgrades, because when it's played or attacks, you can move an upgrade on anybody's board to another unit on that same board. So you can move your opponent's upgrades among their units, or your upgrades among yours. So you can move a pilot from another unit to itself, or from itself to others, and kind of move your pilots around so they stay there and help. Then you got Evidence of Crime being just like Survivor's Gauntlet, being a way to kind of move around upgrades, but it's more restrictive, but it allows you to take control of them. Because it allows you to take control of an upgrade that's free LS, and it's actually however you choose, not just among your opponent's board or among your board, but wherever it is, but it's a bit more restrictive. So that's what Rose provides you, so you'll get that nonetheless. Now let's see what you get the benefits of if you go for a different aspect base. So, next we're going to go over commands. We're going to go in order of the aspects, and command is a pretty nice one. It gives you a ramp up, and it also has some pretty good vehicles in it. It's pretty nice ones to get some like aggression going. And you got these ones here, you also got some nice units to help out. Because a good thing in the heroic side of command is you got a lot of them that have the tag rebel. We got a lot of rebels in set 1, and we got more in this set, meaning you've got a lot more options for it. So you got Mon Mothma being and Phoenix Squadron being a nice turn 1 play, Squadron being a nice space unit, Mon Mothma being a nice ground unit, and Mon Mothma being able to go ahead and search for rebels for the top 5 when she's played, so being a searcher for rebels. Then you got some other space units like Blue Leader and Bright Hope, which are pretty nice ones. Blue Leader having an ambush, and Bright Hope having Sentinel. Nice things with these is they can attack or be attacked into, and you can heal them thanks to Rose. Then you got some nice pilots like Luke and Chewbacca, be a nice ones you can attach into unit or just kind of normally. Luke having a nice one where if the unit is on, what is upgraded, is defeated, you can then play it to the ground arena instead of being defeated as well. And then Chewbacca gives you a nice bit of defense against control, where while it's down as a ground unit or while equipped, it makes the unit not able to be bounced or defeated by enemy effects. Then you have some of your higher cost cards, being New Reinforcement Home 1. Home 1 being a nice vehicle that's perfect for Rose, and also gives you Restore among all your units, including itself, and also it's a place like out from your drop that is a heroic unit, out, but it just costs less. So it costs 3 less, it's for free. Anything higher, you got to pay the extra resources to play it out. And then your reinforcement allows you to play cards from top of your top 10 cards of your deck, up to 3 units as long as their combined cost is 7 or less. So you can get one big thing or a lot of little things, which is pretty nice. Then in the non-heroic side, you got some pretty nice cards. Like you got some more pilots as well, like Clone Pilot and Jarek Jaeger. You also got Hu Yang as a pretty nice one, which can help you make a vehicle unit a bit beefy. So you have to take out Hu Yang to get rid of that boost, or just if they leave it alone, then that unit's just going to get a huge boost and stay like that. You also got an inept arc, being a nice space unit that gives you healing as well. And reinforcement walker. Remember, the vehicles are not just space; they're also ground. And reinforcement walker is a great one because it's a big costing unit, but then you're in command, so you're going to ramp. And whenever it's played or attacks, allows you to either draw a card or discard that card and heal 3 damage from your base. You can either gain more cards or heal from your base by discarding that card. And given it's a vehicle, every time it's attacked, triggers effect, you can then heal it with Rose, which is cool. Then you also got some nice effects, like since she's a leader vehicle-focused deck, you want to have some vehicles-focused support. So you got Salvage, which is a 0 cost event, allows you to play a vehicle from your discard pile as long as you can pay the cost for it, but then you deal 1 damage to it, which can be easily healed off by Rose. You can get back some vehicles from your discard. You got Eject as well, being a way to knock off pilots from either your opponent's units, and then put them to the ground arena, and then draw cards, some drawing, plus some knocking of pilots off. And you got Resupply being the classic ramp. So that is Command, and a pretty nice way to play some pretty good cards. If you want to play it and ramp up and play out some big vehicles quickly, Command can be a good one to go for. Next we have Aggression, and like I said, this is a focus on like damage, and it's got a nice lot of cheap units you can play, especially vehicles that you can then heal up pretty nicely because they got a good amount of health to survive, and for Rose to get a maximum amount of healing. So you got the top row being some of your turn 1 units you can play in space, or some vehicles you can play out. So you got Green Squadron, Anakin's Interceptor, Black One, and Red Squadron Y-Wing, all being 3 health units that can survive and heal the maximum from Rose, and can hit quite nicely, like Green Squadron having Raid 2, Anakin's Interceptor getting 2 more power if your base has 15 or more damage on it, Black One getting extra 1 power if it's upgraded, and on attack, if you've got Poe out in some way, shape, or form, you can do 1 damage to your unit. And in Red Squadron Y-Wing, being when it attacks, you force your opponent to take 3 direct damage among their units and base. Then you got Red 3, which allows you to power up all your heroic units by giving them all Raid 1 what's on board, and be a nice vehicle you can keep healthy with Rose. Then you got BB-8 and Biggs, some nice upgrades, be on the come down, give some boost for stats, and some benefits like BB-8 be on a potentially ready and resistant unit with blade when upgraded, and Biggs giving a benefit depending on the trait on the vehicle. So a fighter gives it overwhelm, transport gives it extra 1 health, and then speeder gives it grip. And then you got They Hate That Ship being a way to play out a unit, a vehicle unit from your hand, costing I think 2 less. Because it costs 1, it costs 3 less. So you can pay out for 2 less than its normal cost, because you're paying 1 for the card, and you're paying it 1 less than 2 more than the card's cost. And you get to play it out ready, but you get to play out the card. You get to play out a card cheaper, or a vehicle unit cheaper, but your opponent gets 2 TIE Fighter tokens. You get to play out a vehicle a little bit cheaper, 2 costs cheaper than normal, but your opponent gets 2 1/1 TIE Fighters, which are not too bad, but it depends. And that's some pretty nice stuff from Heroic. There's a lot more stuff, but I thought I'd go for the focus on like vehicles and some kind of nice things that tie well with Rose. And in the non-heroic side of Aggression, there's not too much, but there is there's another one where Aggression it's better in Heroism for the heroic side. But there are some nice cards there. You got Determined Recruit being a nice pilot, Saving Fangfighter being a nice space because Aggression has a nice unique ability of being able to have quite a bit of upgrade hate. So it's got some upgrade hate like Saving Fangfighter and also System Shock. And you got some nice benefits to space units, like you got Tarkin being able to boost your vehicles by an extra 1 power and gain overwhelm, so benefit out from the ground arena. Then you got Hunting Aggressor being a nice chunky space unit that increases the indirect damage you do by 1. And you got Heavy Pseudo Tank being a nice one you can exploit out, so play a little bit cheaper and does damage, and then you can play it out a little bit cheaper. You also got nice events as well, like Open Fire. So remember, Aggression is all about damage mostly, and you can do like good amount of damage from Open Fire. Then you got Carrigan's Turn as well, being a free cost event that allows you to ready any fighter or transport unit, which is quite a few of them. And if they got 6 or less power, you get to ready them. So you can ready something that's got 6 or less power, and then attack with it again. So it could be a way to finish off a game that your opponent might not expect. So, if that is how you want to play, and you like aggression, then go ahead and try that out. I'm going to come to the last aspect, and that is Cunning. So, Cunning is a pretty nice one. Remember, it's a jack of all trades one. And it's got some pretty nice cards. It's got some pretty nice vehicles as well. Like, you got the top row, some of the probably better vehicles for Rose, being Cartel Turncoat, being a cheap one they played turn 1. Fireball, allowing you to get that healing straight from the get-go, because it's got ambush, especially since it's going to do damage to itself during the regroup phase. And then you got Million Falcon, 2 Million Falcons being the more expensive one, the cheaper one, which has nice beneficial effects. You have some pretty nice pilots as well to go on these vehicles, like Dagger Squadron being a nice cheap one. So you can do it especially with Cartel Turncoat. And it can be a nice one to keep you piloting every time, keep passing about the hand, play it back on, so you can not lose the pilot at least. Then you got Han Solo being a nice one that's even good as a ground unit. And if it's on our Falcon, when it's upgraded on our vehicle, you get attack with that unit. But if it's a Millennium Falcon, you get to do that whole shoot first shenanigans. Then you've also got some good events as well. You got Spark Rebellion being nice hand control. And then for the non-heroic side, you got some pretty nice ones here. Like, you've got some nice pilots, pretty interesting pilots, like Independent Smuggler and Sidian Ifano. I think I remember, don't really know his name, just can't really pronounce it. Got these ones like Independent Smuggler is a good one to put on yours. 1 cost upgrade pilot, and it provides upgrade ones. So it's a pretty nice one there. You got Sidian being a nice negative one that you're not going to put on yours, but you're going to put on your opponents. Because when you play it as a unit, you get attached to as an upgrade to a enemy vehicle unit without a pilot, and it gives minus stats, just like pair disposition on your on the what is ever is on. So when it's piloting something, it's minus, so it's like gonna crash it. And sometimes you can use this to kind of remove units or make them weaker, or prevent pilots from being got on it. Because if you're afraid your opponent's going to put a pilot on it on their unit they've got, you can put this on it, so they got negative stats and they can't put another pilot. Because remember, unless a card has an effect that allows you to put more pilots, it can't have more than 1 pilot on. Then we got some other cheap turn 1 unit vehicles you can have in Cunning, like you got Lightspeed, which you can ambush, you can attack straight away and get straight from turn 1 the ability to heal it off as well. And you got Hotspot Viewing as well, which is like a vanilla one, but good stats for its cost. Then you got some other ones that are pretty nice, like Death Space Skirmisher, be a nice one that kind of rests something. So like Cartel Spacer, but a little 1 more cost and in any Cunning deck, not just Villainy. And you got Corporate Light Cruiser, being a nice ambush, high costing vehicle that you can play out that can ambush and also raid 1. And also you got some nice events, because Cunning has a lot of good events. I've shown a little bit less than I normally do, but it's fair enough. It's nice to see some of the vehicles pilots that go away with Rose's kind of way to play. Swoop Down is a nice one that makes use of the fact you want to play vehicles, and since most vehicles are space, not all of them, most of them, you might want to have a way to kind of deal with your opponent's ground unit, even if you can't play ground units, or don't play ground units, and that's through Swoop Down. It's one of those cards that allows you to break the game, because usually you can only attack space to space or ground to ground, but Swoop Down allows you to go ahead and attack across arenas, and also gains Saboteur, and then the unit you're attacking with gains up 2 more power, while the thing you're attacking into on the ground has 2 less power. So, nice way to break the game's rules there. And just like how that's an event that allows you to attack with a unit and get more power on it, so you got things like Surprise Strike as well, where you can attack with a unit and give it 3 more power for that attack. So if you like those kind of like cool shenanigans like ambush and things like that on units, then Cunning could be a good one to go with Rose. Also remember, like I said, that Heroism and Villainy are unique in that not only can they go on their own cards, but they can be attached to other cards. So there are some cards that are just Heroism, and these are pretty nice ones here. Like you've got R2-D2, Millennium Falcon, Speed's Masterpiece, Wing Leader being nice ones as well. So R2 being a nice pilot that breaks the rules as well, where normally you can only have 1 pilot on a unit, but it can be put on a unit that's already got a pilot on, and then allow it to have more pilots on. You got Falcon, which also breaks the game, same kind of thing, where it can have more than 1 pilot on, and gets more power for every pilot. Sabine is a nice one where, depending on whatever aspects you have on board, you can get beneficial effects like healing for blue, experience for green, damage for red, and then untapping or tapping resources for yellow. And you got Wing Leader, because you get a lot of good rebels. Like if you play a lot of rebels, you can have Wing Leader kind of be a nice vehicle. You can come down and like power up a vehicle or a rebel by giving it 2 more experience points. So boost it up by 2/2 on the stats, because every experience gives 1/1 to the stats. And then have a space unit out as well, which it might not get the benefit of healing with Rose, but you're powering up one of your other units, and it can be played as early as turn 2. Now, something I like to add to these videos now, since set 3, is my preferred aspects, because I did get a lot of questions in my videos about when I was doing this series originally, that asking what kind of aspects I would play. Like if I would play this leader, what kind of aspects would I play with them? And I've now tried to put this in because then if people ask what people want to put in, rather than wait for people to ask, I might as well put in all the videos to kind of show off what my preferred aspects. Because where a leader, there is a preferred way I like to play them. So with Rose, I'd probably go for green if I were as my preferred aspect, my main preferred aspect, because you got some nice vehicles like Blue Leader and Bright Hope, and some pretty nice pilots on it as well that you can put on these space units to make them a little bit easier to keep around. So Rose can keep healing them, keep them nice and safe. And if I wasn't playing Command, like if I didn't want to play Command or didn't have the cards for Command, I'd play Aggression, because that offers you some very good units and some very nice aggressive stuff with it. And where Rose can deploy quite quickly, you can get some aggression with it, and blue and red normally go quite well, especially with the heroic side of it. So that is it for today. That is all. Hopefully that's helped you understand how to build Rose Tico to suit you and your playstyle. And she's quite unique in that she's a very vehicle-focused deck, but she looks to be pretty good if you enjoy that sort of thing. So that is all the blue leaders for today. So we've come to the end of that. So feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And watch out next week as we come back with the series going over the green leaders, starting off with, I think it's Admiral Piet. So if you're interested in that one, stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.